They're disjointed. They're disjointed insofar to their roles and meta vocabulary instantiated within their respective domains.
Wait, but you would agree that when we have some disjoint set, that's just to say that two sets are disjoint if and only if
We're
they
not
have
talking
no
about sets.
common elements.
We're not talking about sets. We're talking about domains. Domain theory is different from set theory.
A domain. Wait, you would agree domain is just a non-empty set, right?
No, what? That's just not how it's defined within domain theory. No.
How? Okay, how are you taking domain? Because I would assume you would take that.
Because sets are not. Hold on. I'll explain to you. Because sets and domains are two distinct things. I don't know why you like conflated those two. But a set, in this sense, would probably be, well, how would I put it for you better? A set is a collection of elements, more so. But the domain is the space or field where those elements can come together and get their meaning, more so as stratification. So a set is going to be the contents, but the domain could be the structure that makes those contents make sense, like Heidegger said. Right?
Wait, that sounds like you're trying to say that you can construct like an ordered tuple where you're gonna have M, which is gonna be for like the model or like the structure. Then you're gonna have domain, which are going to be the non-empty set, and then you're gonna have an interpretation.
No, domain is not a non-empty set though.
That's how. Okay, look, we can just use your definition. So
what was my definition?
Let
me make sure you track that.
Yeah, your definition is saying that you're gonna have some elements where you're gonna have some interpretation, right?
No.
You did? Okay.
I said specifically verbatim, the space or field where those elements come from and get their meaning from. That's the domain. Cool. Okay. A set is just a collection of elements. It's just what's included.
Okay, that's true, but would you agree that is just to say that it's like a model, and you know how we define a model?
What do you mean? All under a paradigm?
No. Like a model.
A paradigm is a model. What are you talking about? No.
Okay. No, obviously. Look,
what do you mean, obviously?
In model theory, we want to say a model is just going to be. Okay, great. In that, we want to say that exists some ordered tuple where you're going to have M, the structure, then you're going to have a non-empty set.
You're talking in set theory, function. That's different from obviously, that's different from the ontological engineering of domain theory. That's different from the ontological engineering of domain theory, though.
What was that?
We're talking about domains as well. That's different from the ontological structure of domain theory.
No, that's fine. But all I'm saying there is that when you're talking about domains, are you just simply saying that it's just a model? Because that's how it sounds like.
No, a domain is not a model.
Understanding. Okay, if it's not a model, then wait, what would be the difference between a model?
There's no difference in between, by the way, because I don't hold the difference in between. But look, a domain is not a model itself. A domain is still what determines whether the set of statements is about anything meaningful or not. But under this sense, it won't be a model. And you want me to tell you what a model is under my view?
Yes, I would. Yeah, sure. If you're not taking the conventional.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what a model is. A model in logic, or in general, or even in model theory, to me, it's just going to be a structure that makes a set of statements true in logic, in this sense.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have a non-empty set, and then you're going to have an interpretation function where the output from this is going to be true for the set of sentences, and that's why they're satisfiable.
You want to know the difference? The model has two main parts. The model can have a domain.
Wait, between the domain and the model?
Yeah, the model can have the domain, which is the things that exist in the model, and then you have the interpretation, which is the symbols or statements, which means about those objects. So, for an example, think about all apples are like red, for an example, right? A model would be the two things in conjoining, in union, the domain and the interpretation. So you have a bunch of objects that says apples, and then you have the interpretation of those apples. Like you can probably put apples X if you wanted to do like a predicate function, and you could pick those out as objects in the side redness.
Okay, is that it?
So what I'm saying is a model is what connects the language to something structured that makes them true or false. But it's differentiated from the domain itself.
Okay, so
when we're speaking about domains,
wait, so you would want to say that the domain is like the structure that has these elements and gives them meaning?
That's just not what I called a domain. I said a model is a structure that makes the statements true, a set of statements.
Yeah, I never talked about.
And then I said the domain. Oh my God, wait for 1 second. I said the domain is going to be speaking about what those statements are about. It's going to be the field of reference in this sense.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, sure.
Okay. So understanding that, I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to illustrate it for you too. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to look at my shit. All right. Tell me you're looking.
Yeah, I'm looking.
All right. Beautiful. So let's say we had this domain, and this is like, and we have this domain, and this is. Now look, they're obviously two different domains, right? Look at their symbol. What's in it? It's different, right? Their design, what's in it, all of that's different, right?
Sure.
Under a pluralist domain, these will have to be equal, right?
And by equal would just mean that they have the same elements?
No,
Okay, what do I mean by equal then?
that's not equal. We're just saying that it's equally valid. So under this sense, let's say I had a non-Euclidean geometry and a Euclidean geometry. Those two are distinct, but they're going to be equally valid in their own respective domains.
Okay, wait, what do
And to each
you
other.
mean by equally valid then? What do you
Yeah,
mean
no,
by that?
that's what you would have probably asked the pluralist. And this is what I'm trying to deny. So really, I don't see how they even explicate validity. But if we take like a normal classical pluralist view, they're just going to be saying that they're all equally correct insofar to what they are talking about. They are all right in their own sense.
And you disagree that you can have some these two domains, like you called it, and they can both be true even if they're like distinct?
No, that's not what I'm disagreeing with. It's not talking about if they're both true or not. What I'm disagreeing with is if they are truly like distinct and outside a unifying principle. The thing about this is this: although these are two distinct things, under a set theory and even under domain theory and even under pluralism, you don't want to try to make two differentiated sets and unify them under one big set if they are truly heterogeneous, right?
And by heterogeneous you mean what exactly?
Well, they're all like heterogeneous. I thought you knew this. Heterogeneous is just different elements. I mean, it's like different elements, different kinds, different in all terms. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm not just saying shit.
Okay, you're good.
Isn't it homogeneous like the same? Yeah, heterogeneous is originating outside of the organism, and they're composed of diverse, dissimilar, or unrelated parts, elements, or ingredients. So, okay, yeah, I was right. So, heterogeneous is to be composed of all these diverse and different ingredients, right, of a given thing. But if they are all of different elements, diverse and they're dissimilar and unrelated in general, but they're still related, but they're still equally valid. You don't want to link them all under this one rule that I'm kind of putting up here. You see this thing that I'm putting up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole circle thing that I'm kind of writing. If you're trying to say this thing makes them equal, then that's just pluralism. You're just saying they're all unified under one big thing right here. You're saying that they're all unified under one big thing. So they're not truly pluralistic. They're not truly just distinct domains, which can be true without one thing that's going to connect them both. But even this, you make the equality problem. What do you mean by equal? Most of the time when you say equal, you're just speaking about the mathematical domain. But to just say a domain X is equal to a domain Y is to unify them all under one mathematical symbol, which is the equal. So then you make these two domains, which are supposed to be distinct and diverse from each other and entirely different and unrelated to each other, you make these two domains equal, so you unify them under the mathematical domain, and that just seems like you're collapsing back into monism. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, kind of. So you want to say that these two domains or things, right? You can, what a pluralist wants to do is basically have like a bigger union set of these two things. So then you would want to say that that's just a problem, right?
Yeah, it's a problem. You don't want to have the unification. You don't want to unify, because monists unify. Pluralist wants to disunify or get away from the unification.
Okay,
They don't want that. They want to abstract away from it. They want to say that they're all equally valid, but they're not unified. But once the moment you say that there's many equally valid domains is the moment you introduce the term many. But many seems like you're unifying them all in this one union. When you say many, you're unifying. And that just seems like monism, just masked. That's my point.
Yeah.
And that's why I said pluralism just fails in that respect. And that's why I'm a monist.
Nigga, Mono gave up on the best debater, Flo. Nigga, you thought you could go back and forth with Flo, nigga? Are you crazy? You can't go back and forth with Flo, nigga. You should have conceded at the beginning.
Yeah, bro, sure.
It's alright, bro. He just wanted to learn.